Wait a minute, I can take my glasses off.
Oh, God.
I can't be Clark Kent, I gotta be Superman.
Welcome to the Rowdy.com Big Three. I am Buck Fever. He's Buzz Cutler. We talk NASCAR, all the burning issues in NASCAR racing today.
Special guest cameraman Lucas, the web lackey, is behind camera number 2, participating today, of course, because Bass Masters is on vacation.
He's sunning his fat self somewhere.
All week. He's at Fat Camp, isn't he?
Yeah, he's at Fat Camp.
Issue number 1, we talked about on the podcast a little bit last week, but we haven't talked about it on video yet. Kurt Busch has been having a great start to the 2010 season. It looks fast and racy, has a victory. Kyle Busch has struggled a little bit to start off 2010, though he looks to be turning things around. Do you think in any way Kyle Busch regrets cutting his crew chief, Steve Addington, loose last season in favor of Dave Rogers? Of course, his brother Kurt picked Steve Addington up.
I don't think he's that upset about losing Steve Addington. It was his choice. He made it. He felt like he didn't have confidence in him. I think it's kind of crazy, but that's the call he made, and he's never going to say he made a mistake. I mean, if I know Kyle Busch, he doesn't regret much in his past.
Yeah, and I think Kyle Busch would acknowledge that Steve Addington is a good crew chief. You don't win 16 races in 4 years because you have a crappy crew chief. But as Buck said, you don't make a move like this if you're J.D. Gibbs without it being signed off on by Kyle Busch, or even perhaps it was initiated by Kyle Busch, whether it was chemistry, whether it was communication, whether or not Kyle Busch thought they had gone about as far as they could go. Obviously, he thought it was time for a change, and I think he also would probably acknowledge that it's too soon in the Kyle Busch, Dave Rogers era to really see whether or not it's a good team. Crew chief driver, it's all about communication, it's all about chemistry. It takes a while to figure that stuff out. Buck and I have been working together for 7 years, and we still don't communicate very well. So.
But it takes a while to gel. All right, next issue.
It also takes a village.
It does. I'm not a big Hillary Clinton fan, but I'm starting to believe her on that one.
I'm going to read a quote to you from Jenson Button.
Mr. Button.
Jenson Button, F1 driver extraordinaire.
Yes.
He was asked about the lack of overtaking in F1. Overtaking, of course, is a pretentious way of saying passing.
Passing.
And here is how he responded, quote, NASCAR is a very different sport. You are racing on an oval. There is lots of overtaking, but you don't get a buzz when you see a move. In F1, when you do see a move, you really respect it as you know it is difficult to do.
Let me get this straight. Because you have so little passing in F1, when it finally happens, it's a super event? You're an idiot. You know what? I'm going to take young Charlie's point of view on this, my 7-year-old. Booger. You're a booger. That's ridiculous.
Well,
and there's incredible passing in NASCAR. Maybe a different style of passing, maybe something you don't understand, but it's there. Saw Martinsville as a prime example.
The problem I have with this quote is it's as if he is suggesting that passing is easy in NASCAR because there's more of it. And while sometimes a pass might be a little bit more easy than other times, we've all seen lots of passing, whether it be mid-race or passing for the victory, that has given us a, quote, buzz. I mean, you think of Craven Busch at Darlington. Yeah. You think of Kevin Harvick passing Mark Martin to win the Daytona 500. You think of Martinsville.
The pass in the grass, come on.
There is plenty of passing in NASCAR that gives you a buzz. And it is not any more easy or difficult than passing in F1.
Pretty concentric logic, and as my mother would say, the late great mom, twirl!
Twirl?
Twirl. It's a nice way of saying, you know what I mean.
Yes. All right. And on today's podcast, we talked about the plight of Shane Meal versus the plight of Brian Rose. Brian Rose received an indefinite suspension from NASCAR. That suspension was recently lifted, and he tried to make a start in the truck race over the weekend. Shane Meal, of course, received a lifetime ban from NASCAR, and he's in the USAC Midget Series. There is no indication that NASCAR is contemplating lifting his lifetime ban.
And this is for drug use, guys.
This is for failed drug tests, acknowledged, no controversy here. Everybody acknowledged the results of the test, unlike Jeremy Mayfield. If NASCAR decided to lift that lifetime ban on Shane Meal and follow the Brian Rose example, how would you feel about that?
I'm sort of betwixt and between on this one.
Are you bewitched, bothered, and bewildered?
I am. You know, part of me obviously wants to see Shane Meal have a great career and success. So part of me wants to say yes, but then the other part of me says, you know, if you lift the ban, that's the whole point NASCAR was trying to make is that there are consequences. So I say maybe give the guy another shot, possibly, but I don't know the full story.
I actually surprised myself in thinking about this because, normally I would be like, oh yeah, the guy if he earns a second chance, he should be given a second chance.
You're the softy left winger.
But the more I thought about this, the more I thought, okay, there is a difference between a lifetime ban and an indefinite suspension. He received 2 indefinite suspensions, failed a third drug test, and then got the lifetime ban. Racing for a living, driving in a NASCAR series for a living is a privilege, not a right. He took that privilege for granted or failed to live up to the privilege, and so NASCAR said, you can't come and play in our sandbox anymore. If they go back on that now, then they're rendering the whole lifetime ban pretty much meaningless. It would be like the Carl Edwards probation after Atlanta.
I don't know.
I actually surprised myself, and I'm sort of thinking about it and thinking, well, no, a lifetime ban, there's not a lot of wiggle room there.
I know. And on that note, come to Rowdy.com where there's plenty of wiggle room. You can wiggle in a photo. You can wiggle in a blog. You could
wiggle in a boat. You could wiggle with a goat.
Well, on that note, I'm out of here. I don't wiggle with goats.
Oh, sure.
Not me.
Sure.
Kirk out.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.